Incoming. When heard on the battlefield, it could mean a rapidly approaching mortar round. The United States Army's High Energy Laser Mobile Demonstrator, or HELMD, has shown that lasers can disable such threats.
So this is a 60mm mortar. It's very cheap, inexpensive, and can cause a lot of damage. This is about 10 inches in length, and we can target this with a dime-sized beam.
Using a high-energy laser, the Army's system targets, tracks, and destroys a mortar traveling hundreds of miles per hour from many miles out.
When we put that really tight spot on this mortar, for example, you could think of that as being almost like a butane torch that's been brought to a really fine, tight flame, and you're literally applying it right to the surface of the mortar. And you can imagine that if you had a mortar and you did that, that it wouldn't take very long before you would get the inside hot, which is where the high energy explosive is. And if you heat that high energy explosive up to a high enough temperature, why, it'll detonate.
The Army system would provide an umbrella for the ground troops underneath. 3 trucks, strategically placed, could defend a battalion against mortar rounds and more.
And these are the slowest targets that we deal with of the rockets, artillery, mortar grouping. Rockets are in the 600 to, let's say, 1,000 miles an hour, something in that kind of range. And yet we make these look as if they're standing still.
The Army outfitted the HELMD with existing technology. The laser sits on an Oshkosh truck, and an operator can track targets with a video game controller.
Something that they can just pick up and it feels natural to them.
The only cost of operating the system is fueling the onboard electrical power systems. It only takes a small amount of diesel fuel to fire the laser long enough to destroy a mortar.
And so not only is this system very high tech, but it's also very cost effective. And it's hard to find solutions that have all of the high tech, pushing the state of the art capability, which are also the most cost effective solution.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
The math is complicated. The technology is advanced. But in the end, an intercept ground-based midcourse defense system recently intercepted a target that represented a ballistic missile threat in space. The interceptor relied on complex radar, sensor, and tracking integration. It traveled thousands of miles per hour before
country, it means a lot. These days we don't have conventional war. All these different nations are developing all kind of ballistic missile capability that can reach our shores, and GMD is one of the system that really can protect us.
Launching an interceptor thousands of miles per hour to collide with a rapid target is hardly an easy challenge, which Boeing, being the system prime contractor, has learned the hard way. In a previous test, an intercept did not occur due to conditions outside of the Earth's atmosphere. Boeing engineers then faced the challenge to find out, quite literally, how on earth do we solve this problem?
It's hard to reproduce. You're not up there, right? You don't know exactly what happens. So you kind of piece a story together. You have lots of different stories, and you pick the one that makes the most sense or is the most likely.
That's where Manvi stepped in. After poring over mountains of data, he and his team provided a solution using special materials that recreated the vibrations and high-frequency pitches that occur in space.
And it took a lot of work to really isolate not just the environment, but the specifics of the environment, the tones in the environment that was causing the problem. In this case, the resources that were applied to this problem were vast, and there was a really good team put together. I think there's an exceptional team.
As a result, the team's breakthrough laid the groundwork to improve the interceptor's guidance system and led to the most recent intercept. In the end, Boeing engineers solved a problem
to keep the attitude of finding a way for difficult problems. I think we can do it. We've done it before, we'll do it again.
I'm a propulsion engineer for SLS. What I do is I'm responsible for the propulsion system for SLS. Down here at MAF, I'm responsible for integrating and testing the system as we build it throughout the factory. So behind me we have Core Stage 1's engine section. The engine section is kind of the business end of the rocket. So all the propulsion systems really go in here. All the propellant coming down from the tanks goes to the engines in here. All of our helium systems and all the other systems that really make the engines work.